It looks like Finesse2Tymes got his ass finessed by the one and only J. Prince Jr. His contract just got leaked, and let me tell y'all, this has got to be one of the worst deals I have ever seen in my life. No cap. Before we break this shit down, let's talk about how Finesse is trying to get up with the Prince family, but that might be the worst mistake he will ever make. But first, let me break down how this whole situation is about to blow your mind. And yo, before we dive deep into this mess, make sure y'all hit that like button because this story is about to get real crazy, real fast. We're talking about contracts, millions of dollars, and family dynasties that'll make your head spin. So check this out, fam. Back in September 2022, Finesse2Tymes thought he was making the move of his life. This dude signed with Mob Ties Entertainment, which is J. Prince Jr.'s label, thinking he was about to secure the bag. But what if I told you that from day one, this man was walking into a trap that would leave him broke and begging to get out? Bro, when I first saw this contract, I said, oh my God, what the hell is this? This ain't no regular record deal. This is straight up highway robbery with a pen and paper. The contract shows that Finesse signed an exclusive service agreement, but here's where it gets insane. They brought in not just one, but two entities to split his money. See, most artists, when they get signed, they think they're dealing with one company. You sign to the label gets their cut, you get yours, everybody's happy. But the Prince family said, nah, we're gonna do this different. They created a whole system where multiple companies get paid off one artist's work. Now let's talk about that advance money, because this is where the finessing really starts. When artists get signed, they usually get an advance. That's like your signing bonus, right? It's supposed to help you live while you're making music and building your career. But here's the crazy part that's got me heated. Even with that advance money, Finesse only got to keep a small percentage of it. The contract shows that any money coming in gets split three ways. 35% to the artist, that's Finesse, 35% to Mob Ties, that's J. Prince Jr.'s company, and 30% to something called JPE, which is James Prince Entertainment. And guess who that is? That's J. Prince Sr., the father. So let me break this down for y'all real quick. If $1 million comes in, Finesse gets $350,000, J. Prince Jr. gets $350,000, and the father gets $300,000. Bro, that's actually insane. This man is getting double dipped by the whole Prince family. But wait, it gets even worse. That advance money, Finesse has to pay that back from his 35% before he sees any additional money. So if they gave him a $200,000 advance, he's got to earn back $571,000 in total revenue just to break even on that advance. Meanwhile, the Prince family is collecting their 65% the entire time. And here's where it gets even more messed up. I did some research on these companies, and both Mob Ties and J. Prince Entertainment are registered in Texas. J. Prince Jr. owns Mob Ties, and his father owns J. Prince Entertainment. So essentially, what's happening here is that the son signed Finesse to his label, then brought in his daddy to get a piece of the action too. Y'all seeing this? This is like if I signed you to my label, then told you my pops also needs to get paid just because. That's not how this business is supposed to work for real. But the Prince family has been doing business like this for decades. They've built an empire where every deal benefits multiple family members. J. Prince Sr. has been in the game since the 80s with Rap-A-Lot Records. This man has seen every type of deal, every type of contract, and he knows exactly how to structure things to maximize profit for his family. When his son started Mob Ties, you best believe Daddy was going to get his piece too. The crazy part is this creates a conflict of interest that would make any lawyer's head spin. If J. Prince Jr. is supposed to be looking out for his artist's best interests, but his father is also getting paid from the same pot, whose interests is he really serving? But wait, it gets worse. This ain't just a recording contract. This is what they call a 360 deal. That means they get a piece of everything Finesse makes. His music, his merchandise, his endorsements, his touring, his appearance fees, his streaming revenue, everything. The contract specifically states they get rights to use his name, his image, his likeness for sponsorships and endorsements. So not only are they taking 70% of his music money, they're also taking 70% of his merch money, his appearance fees, everything. This man can't make a dollar without the Prince family getting their hands on it first. Let me put this in perspective for y'all. If Finesse does a show and makes $10,000, he only keeps $3,500. If he sells $5,000 worth of merchandise, he only keeps $1,750. If he gets a $20,000 endorsement deal, he only keeps $7,000. Every single revenue stream is being taxed by this contract. And the merchandising clause is particularly nasty. They can use his name and likeness for products without even asking him first. They could literally make Finesse2Tymes t-shirts, sell them for $30 each, and he'd only get $10.50 per shirt while they keep $19.50. That's insane. Now here's the part that really got me heated. This contract is for 5 albums. 5. Most production deals should be for maybe 1 or 2 albums max, but they locked this man in for 5 projects. That's how labels keep you trapped, gang. They know that by album 2 or 3 you might blow up and want to leave, but they got you locked in legally. And get this, the royalty rates actually go up slightly with each album. Album 1 is 14%, album 2 is 14.5%, and it goes up to 16% by albums 4 and 5. But here's the thing. That's 14% of their 35%, not 14% of the total. So we're talking about maybe an extra 4 to 5% for Finesse after they've already taken their cut. But here's what's really messed up about this 5-album deal. There's no guarantee they'll actually promote or push any of these albums. They could just sit on his music, collect their percentage from whatever he does independently, and keep him locked up until the contract expires. This is the same type of deal that kept artists like Lil Wayne trapped at Cash Money for years. The label has no incentive to let you go because they're making money off you regardless of whether they're actually working your music or not. Now let me tell you all about Finesse2Tymes' background because this makes the whole situation even more heartbreaking. This man is from Memphis, Tennessee, and he's been grinding in the streets and in music for years. He's 33 years old, which in rap years means he's running out of time to make his mark. Finesse has been through the system. He's done time, he's struggled, and music was supposed to be his way out. When Mob Ties came calling, this probably felt like his lottery ticket. Finally, a real label with real connections was going to help him reach the next level. But instead of being his salvation, this contract became his prison. He's been with them for 4 years now, and in that time, they've only released 2 projects. 4 years. That's prime career time that he can't get back. The man has been funding his own videos, his own promotion, basically acting independent while still being locked into this contract. He said he's about $10,000 to $15,000 in the hole for stuff the label was supposed to handle. That's crazy. You signed to a label so they can handle the business side, but instead you're paying out of pocket while they collect 70% of your earnings. And yo, this is where the story gets really sad. Finesse went live on Instagram, and this grown man started tearing up talking about his situation. He was literally begging J. Prince Jr. to let him out of the contract. He said, "Junior, let me go. We already made all the money we can make together. I don't want to go to no other label with you. I love you, but I no longer want to be Mob Ties business-wise." Bro, when I heard that, I felt that pain in his voice. This man is 33 years old. He's been grinding for years, and he's watching other artists his age make millions while he's stuck in this contract getting crumbs. But the most heartbreaking part was when he started talking about his family. He said, "I got kids to feed, I got bills to pay, and I'm out here looking crazy because I can't provide the way I should be able to." That hit different for real. You could hear the desperation in his voice when he said, "P, let me go make my money. It's over with, we done." This wasn't anger talking. This was a man who's been pushed to his breaking point. But here's what really got me heated about this whole situation. Finesse mentioned that J. Prince Jr.'s daddy is worth $300 million, but they're still squeezing every penny out of him. That's the part that don't make sense to me. If your family is already worth hundreds of millions, why are you taking 70% from an artist who's struggling to make ends meet? That's not business, that's just greed at that point. The man is literally crying on Instagram Live, talking about how he can't provide for his family properly because of this contract. J. Prince Sr. built his wealth over decades in the music industry. He's had successful artists, he's made smart investments, and his family is set for generations. So why are they still squeezing artists like Finesse for every penny? It's like a billionaire fighting over a $20 bill with a homeless person. Technically, it's their right, but morally, that's a different conversation. Now here's where things get really scary for Finesse. Going public with this beef against the Prince family is a dangerous game. We all know the reputation that comes with the Prince name in Houston and the music industry. They don't play when it comes to business, and they definitely don't like their business being aired out publicly. The Prince family has connections throughout the industry. They can make phone calls that can shut down opportunities, block radio play, or make it hard for an artist to get booked for shows. When you go to war with them, you're not just fighting a label, you're fighting an entire network. But Finesse is at the point where he feels like he has no choice. He said he's ready to meet up anywhere, by himself, to try to resolve this situation. That takes some serious courage, but it also shows how desperate he is to get out of this deal. He even said, "I don't have a daddy that's worth 300 million, so I know it's easy for you not to give a f." That line hit hard because it shows he understands the power imbalance he's dealing with. And this ain't just about Finesse. This is a pattern we see all over the music industry. Young artists get excited about getting signed. They don't read the fine print, and they end up trapped in deals that benefit everyone except them. Look at what happened with Megan Thee Stallion in 1501 Entertainment. Similar situation. She blew up, wanted to renegotiate or leave, and ended up in a legal battle that lasted years. The label was making money off her success while she was fighting just to control her own career. Or look at the situation with Lil Wayne and Cash Money. Wayne was one of the biggest rappers in the world, but he was stuck in a deal that kept him from releasing music when he wanted to. It took years of legal battles and public feuding before he finally got free.
Rapper Lil Wayne has pleaded guilty to a federal weapons charge. He faces up to 10 years in prison.
The crazy part is, contracts like this are more common than people think. A lot of your favorite artists probably signed similar deals when they first started. The difference is, most of them either blow up big enough to renegotiate or they stay quiet about it. Now let's talk about the legal side of this, because this is where things get really complicated. When you sign a contract like this, you're legally bound to fulfill your obligations. That means Finesse can't just walk away, even if the deal is terrible. The contract probably has clauses about what happens if he tries to break it. There could be financial penalties, legal fees, or they could sue him for damages. Labels have teams of lawyers whose job is to make sure these contracts are ironclad. But here's the thing. Just because something is legal doesn't mean it's right. These contracts are often written in language that's hard for regular people to understand. Artists get excited about getting signed and don't always have good legal representation to explain what they're really agreeing to. Finesse probably thought he was signing a standard record deal. He might not have understood that he was essentially signing over 70% of his entire career to the Prince family for the next 5 albums. What makes this even worse is seeing other artists from Memphis and the South making real money while Finesse is stuck. He's watching dudes he came up with buying houses and cars while he's still trying to recoup money he spent on his own videos. Artists like Moneybagg Yo, who's also from Memphis, are making millions and living good. Meanwhile, Finesse is stuck in a contract that keeps him broke despite having talent and a fan base. The man said he could potentially make 10 to 20 million if he was free to sign elsewhere. That's life-changing money that he's missing out on because of this contract. Imagine being that close to generational wealth, but being legally blocked from getting it. He's probably watching other artists get million-dollar advances while he's fighting over a few $1,000s. That's gotta be torture for someone who knows they have the talent to compete at that level. And let's talk about this recoupment situation, because this is where a lot of artists get confused. Even though Finesse is only getting 35% of the money coming in, he still has to recoup any advances or money the label spent on him before he sees additional royalties. So if they gave him a $200,000 advance, he has to earn back that $200,000 from his 35% before he starts seeing any extra money. Meanwhile, the label is collecting their 65% the whole time. It's like being in debt while your creditors are getting rich off your work. But here's what's really messed up. The label gets to decide what counts as expenses that need to be recouped. Studio time, marketing, promotion, music videos, all of that comes out of the artist's share first. So even if Finesse's music generates $1 million in revenue, if the label says they spent $300,000 on expenses, Finesse has to earn back $857,000 from his 35% share before he sees any additional money. That's almost impossible math. Now let's talk about how this contract affects Finesse in the streaming era, because this is where things get really crazy. Streaming pays pennies compared to physical sales, so artists need massive numbers to make real money. If Finesse gets 1 million streams on Spotify, that might generate $3,000 to $4,000 in revenue. But with his contract, he only keeps 35% of that, which is maybe $1,200. After taxes and expenses, he might walk away with $600 to $800 from 1 million streams. Meanwhile, an independent artist would keep most of that $3,000 to $4,000. So Finesse needs to get almost 3 times as many streams as an independent artist just to make the same money. That's insane. And with the way streaming works, you need consistent releases to stay relevant. But if the label isn't pushing his music or is slow to release projects, Finesse can't build the momentum he needs to generate those massive streaming numbers. What makes this situation even more painful is social media. Finesse can see other artists flexing their success in real time. He's watching rappers buy chains, cars, and houses while he's stuck in a contract that keeps him broke. What really gets me about this situation is the emotional toll it's taking on Finesse. This man went from being excited about his music career to literally begging to be released from his contract. That's not what the music industry should be about, and he's talking about how he's 33 years old and feeling like time is running out. In the rap game, age matters, and every year you're stuck in a bad deal is a year you can't get back. The desperation in his voice when he's asking to be let go is heartbreaking, for real. You can hear the frustration when he talks about being independent, but not really independent. He's doing all the work of an independent artist, funding his own videos, promoting his own music, building his own fan base, but he's still giving away 70% of everything he makes. That's gotta mess with your head. You're working harder than ever, but seeing less money than you would if you were truly independent. It's like being a slave with extra steps. The Prince family has relationships with radio programmers, streaming playlist curators, booking agents, and other industry gatekeepers. If they wanted to, they could make it very difficult for Finesse to succeed even if he did get out of his contract. But sometimes, when you're backed into a corner, you gotta fight with whatever weapons you have. For Finesse, that weapon is his voice and his story. This situation with Finesse is bigger than just one bad contract. It's about how the music industry continues to exploit artists, especially artists from certain backgrounds who might not have access to good legal representation when they're signing deals. How many other artists are stuck in similar situations but don't have the courage to speak out? How many careers have been destroyed by contracts like this? It makes you wonder about the whole system and whether it's really designed to help artists or just profit off their talent. The music industry has always been about powerful people making money off talented people who don't understand the business side. But in 2024, with all the information available and all the independent success stories we've seen, there's no excuse for deals this predatory. Artists need to educate themselves, get good lawyers, and understand that a record deal isn't always a blessing. Sometimes it's a curse disguised as an opportunity. What happens next in this situation could set a precedent for other artists in similar situations. If Finesse is able to get out of his contract or renegotiate better terms, it might encourage other artists to speak up about their own bad deals. But if the Prince family decides to make an example out of him, it could scare other artists into staying quiet about their own situations. The industry is watching to see how this plays out. Either way, Finesse has already accomplished something important. He's brought attention to how these predatory contracts work and how they can trap artists for years. And that's the real story behind how J. Prince Jr. finessed Finesse2Tymes out of millions. This contract is one of the worst deals I've ever seen, and the fact that this man is stuck in it for 5 albums is just insane. The 70-30 split with the Prince family, the 5-album commitment, the 360 deal that covers everything he makes. It's all designed to keep Finesse working while other people get rich off his talent. And if you want more content breaking down the business side of hip-hop and exposing these industry secrets, make sure you subscribe because I got more stories that's gonna blow your mind. The music industry is wild, gang, and sometimes the people who are supposed to help artists make it are the same ones keeping them down. Stay woke, stay informed, and remember, always read the fine print before you sign anything.